this industry in China will keep evolving. I mean, it will still grow, but it will grow in a smarter way.
Yeah.
Like sustainability has been one of the hottest topic for a lot of brands in China, not just fashion brands, but also other consumer brands.
Happy New Year, everybody. First of all, I want to thank all my listeners for your time and your support in 2022, and for all my guests for sharing your beautiful stories and your wisdom. In 2023, I hope to bring on exciting guests to share more beautiful stories and valuable knowledge with all of you. I'm so happy that I can kick off this wonderful year with my first guest, Vincent Djen. Vincent is a sustainable clothing manufacturer in China, the co-founder of Remakehub. Remakehub is a young social enterprise with a great mission of transforming waste into the new generational lifestyle products. In this podcast, I talked with Vincent about his journey of joining and transforming the family fashion business, about how China's fashion industry is evolving, and about the role of sustainability. Welcome and enjoy the conversation. Afternoon, Vincent. It's my morning, and but for you, it's afternoon in China. Thank you so much for making the time to join my podcast.
Yeah, thanks, May. Thanks for having me. Yeah, looking forward to our conversation.
We had a pre-session 2 weeks ago, and we had to chat a little bit about the fashion industry, and I was really so lighted up and inspired. So I'm really looking forward to chat even more with you. And Vincent, you joined the family business 17 years ago after you finished your study in America. And what's the process of taking over a family business? Can we start from there?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Your parents started the fashion, the company Cheng Kung Garments 47 years ago, I think. And they built up the company, and 17 years ago, you came back from America, and then you took over the family business, or you joined the family business at that moment, right?
Yeah.
How was it just as a young guy and joining the Chinese family business? How is that process? Because I think you stayed in the States and Canada for 10 years, and you took a lot of knowledge and a new way of thinking, new mindset back to China. And how did everything integrate?
It was hard, I'd say, because I've been abroad for 10 years. So there was a major cultural shock. At that time, there was 2005 in China. So it was nowhere near as developed as now. So it was challenging. There was a lot of times I was like, okay, this is how it works here. Okay. And then, but I think at one point I realized is that, because I'm staying here in the company and in China for the long haul. So I decided, okay, instead of just like, I have to embrace the changes, embrace the culture, embrace the how things are here. So I was telling myself, okay, if I could blend in North America for in the 10 years that I was there. So I think I could blend into China as well. So I decided to do that, and then ever since that, I think it was a easier journey. So at the beginning of the few years, I was in like a deep cultural shock moment. But after I realized, okay, let's just take a step back and just embrace this what's coming. Then it's a lot smoother. Starting to, instead of like, oh, why is that? It's like, okay, this is cool. It's just like a complete change of mindset. It really helps. Yeah, I think I think the 10 years in being in North America taught me was like, okay, try to blend in, try to be flexible and learn and embrace the environment, the culture, and the society. And then I took the same playbook and then I applied here, and then it worked wonderfully. I'd say, yeah.
Oh, great. And I think when you joined the family business, your parents, and they have a lot of many years of experiences. And how did you also bring some new ideas into the business, and you share your new vision with them, and to build up the family business and transform the family business?
Yeah, because when I was in the US, it was during the dot-com bubble, the end of 99, 2000, the Y2K, the whole thing. And that was the time where everybody started following the stock market, following the companies like AOL, Yahoo, uh, Excite at Home, and all these new internet company of those days. There was no Facebook yet. There wasn't even no MySpace yet. So that time I was caught in that moment as well. And then I was like, okay, this is interesting. Everybody's talking about these internet startups and everybody are getting on internet. Everybody were using dial-up at that point. So I started to explore more. I think I bought a Fortune magazine when I was in high school. I think that was 98 or 99. I don't remember. It was an issue of Fortune 500. So I was like, okay, that looks interesting. Just buy it. And then I was like, wow, there's a lot of companies in there. And then I was like, I have no clue what these companies do except like Intel, Boeing, and a few others. Okay, let me just start. As a high schooler, you have plenty of time. Let's like start reading them and then studying them, go to the library, check them out, and then see what they do. That's, I think, how I got the interests of understanding business and so on. So in my later years in college, I was there was some already. I had something in mind. It's like, oh, I could be coming back to help on my parents' family business at Cheng Kung, or you can just call it CKG in short. So I started to read about on these retail companies, apparel companies, Coach, Nike, Federated department stores. It wasn't called Macy's back then. It was called Federated. And then the Limited Group and Abercrombie and these companies. I started to learn them, and then I was like, because I was studying accounting during that time, so I could just like, okay, let's look up their annual reports, financial statements, and get to understand a little bit about their business, what their strategy are. And so that was time that got me very excited into the whole dot-com bubble and family business. It got me very into this about business, accounting, marketing, things like that. So I would love to. So at that time, I already have a subscription of Wall Street Journal. So I've been a subscriber of Wall Street Journal for, I don't know, 20 some years now. Been a long time. Yeah, very, very long time. So just understanding, reading, and so on was great. It was a lot of learning. And then I also were doing some engineering study back then. And so that's where I like to play with different things, learn about technology. I would like build like electronic circuits in my dorm room and so on. So I think that kind of my experience in college, like having friends that were very into computers, internet, and so on. And also I like how I like the electronics and my experience doing engineering experiments, and also had a part-time work at Silicon Valley at my brother's friend's company, doing some internship and working as like an engineer, and how I study accounting and marketing helped to shape the person I am right now.
Yeah.
all these things. So a lot of people, when I talk to them, like, you seem to know quite many things. It's like, well, what really is your background? I was like, yeah, that explained to them how I got into this. They're like, aha, I see.
Yeah. I think we will get into the many of the exciting business you are doing at the moment. You come originally from Hong Kong, and I think this generation, your generation, are taking over the family business in many cases. Do you also see certain trends going on with this new generation taking over the family business and transforming the business or innovating the business?
I think every generations, when they are taking up the family business, every generation they will do something different. In my era, it's like a lot of people would, okay, if their family business is manufacturing, then they would look into brands and so on. These new avenue for growth. We tried that, and it didn't do very well. So I think for us, we doing something different. Maybe we're doing, it's like, okay, transfer manufacturing still is our base, but because I like how sustainability, and I love doing those things. So that part, like recycling and so on, that could be our new I think new avenue for the company, new innovation. Yeah.
Yeah. And could you please introduce a little bit about Cheng Kung Garments and what you are supplying and what you are doing at the moment?
Yeah, Cheng Kung, CKG in short. It's like we do woven outerwears for many major European and North American brands, mostly in the premium side brands. And it's we work with a lot of Scandinavian brands, so that's where they taught us and got us into the journey of sustainability. And in the early days, it was really about like factory safety, workers compensation, and environment, and so on. So now it's more deeper. It's no longer just about basic safety and workers' rights and working environment and compensation. It's more into now. It's like lowering your carbon, trying to do zero waste, lower your water footprint, many different facets of it. It's really grown. Yeah. And we aren't like a big company, whereas a small, medium-sized company. So, but it gives us more flexibility and so to do what we want, I think. Yeah.
Manufacturing business production facilities of the foreign brands, they are trying to move their production facilities from China to other even cheaper countries last few years. And could you please share with us a little bit more about the development you are seeing at the moment, whether this is how this is taking place, and how do you see the future of the fashion industry of China in the coming 10 to 20 years?
I think it's we mainly do like outerwear, like puffers, jackets. So something you'll wear on the outside for the fall, winter, and spring season. That's our specialty. So, and in the past, let's say 10 years, people are really starting to looking into Southeast Asia and other places, because this industry, it's like a race to the bottom. We survive it in a way to do more premium brands that require are more demanding in terms of lead time, product workmanship, material, and low volumes. So that's where we sit in. We don't compete on the lower end of the price conscious fast fashion market. That's really it's too hard to compete in that because everybody wants low prices, and in that area you just keep on like moving from Southeast Asia, then to like Bangladesh, and then to Ethiopia, and so on. It's just like no end to it, pretty much. It's challenging. It's the reason is because garment industry is it's a very basic industry, but it employs a lot of people. So it really can help a country economy to grow from agrarian society into basic industrial society. So manufacturing, especially garment manufacturing, is always a good area for that. And as the country growing and getting more wealthier, people getting more income, that means the cost is higher. There's only so much you can do on that productivity side, because making garments, making clothes, or if you look at the clothes outside, around you, shirts, pants, these are quite basics. You can use a lot of automations on it. But if you're doing something very fancy, dresses and so on, there's not much standardization. So meaning you cannot really use a lot of machines to really help you to lower the productivity, increase the productivity. So the cost is always come to an issue. So that's why people always move to lower cost countries. And these lower cost countries welcome that, because it's a step for them from agrarian to an industrial society. It's a good stepping stone. But I think being China, we still have some advantage. We're quicker. Our productivity is still strong. Yes, our labor cost is high, but our shipping and everything, if it's not for COVID, we're still quite fast logistics wise, because China, the infrastructure is very strong. The entire industry ecosystem is here. It's very well developed. So we still have that competitive advantage. I mean, like we can ship things to Europe by trucks or by train. So it cuts down on the lead time, on the transportation lead time by almost half compared to ocean freight. So that gives us an advantage. So these are the things, and I think if you look at the industry in China, from manufacturing side, we're getting more expensive and so on, but we can still compete, because our productivity is still not bad, and it's still strong, and with other ways of speeding things up, transportation, and because our entire garment ecosystem, the apparel or fashion ecosystem, is so strong. It's hard to beat it overnight. It's a long-term investment. We want to compete in that sense. So it gives us time to market, speed, design, a lot of different competitive advantage. Yeah. And we can see in the industry right now, like 3D design, 3D sampling is a growing trend, and China is adopting quickly as well. We're using our advantage of the strong ecosystem to do small batch production, so that brands can have less inventory, especially the local brands in China. There are a lot of brands are moving more and more, trialing to produce their collections, local brands, I mean, to do in these small batch manufacturing, so that they have a lower inventory. Because we look at it, the inventory level in China, Chinese brands, local brands are higher in terms of inventory turnover. The turnover slower compared to some of the Western brands. So inventory is always an issue. because
Yeah.
people in China, they always want the coolest, latest design. Yeah, they are not. They still wear classics, of course, but a lot of people, they always want some new things, different colors, and so on. Otherwise, they'll find things boring. So because of this kind of market demand, so small batch manufacturing and so on, it really helps. And I think this industry in China will keep evolving. I mean, it will still grow, but it will grow in a smarter way. Like sustainability has been one of the hottest topic for a lot of brands in China, not just fashion brands, but also other consumer brands in the past 2-3 years. So we're seeing that trend is picking up very, very fast. So I think we will have a lot of new brands, very competitive brands locally, and also they will expand to other parts of the world as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are the main drivers for this sustainable transition of the Chinese fashion industry?
I think there are a few things. Because a lot of our productions are for foreign brands. So big foreign brands, they are a big driver. Yes, you can say they pollute a lot, they so on, but they're also the biggest driver of sustainability. If it aren't because of the big brands, they have the purchasing power to okay, they have to do this. Otherwise, it will be hard for sustainability as a whole to grow. It's because a lot of these big brands, Fortune 500 companies, they need to do it. Therefore, there's the demand, and it helps a lot of startups and other companies to do it because there's orders. There's a buyer at the end for these things. There are people willing to put in money to invest into these new technologies and so on. So big companies is a main driver. Consumer is always a driver as well. They are demanding more because consumers nowadays, especially more affluent middle class, they want a healthy lifestyle. They want that's I see that's how the new cool trend, I think, of consumer the hashtag. It's like what is a symbol of like a new a middle class. It's like healthy, sustainability. These type of lifestyles are part of them, and they want that. And China's policy, government's policy, we have kind of a sustainability these policy in place for some years now, and it's just like every 5 years they have a 5-year plan, and even the previous 5-year plans, they have these sustainability initiatives. At the beginning, it was more about just like safety first. Safety is always the first thing. I mean, for sustainability, if you look at all the ESG reports of the companies, especially consumer products companies, the most important thing for them is safe products and the product safety, and also the functionality of the product. Then they will talk about climate change, and these are their second priority. But safety is always the number one. So the Chinese policy started at that as well, safety, and then moving on. Okay, now safety, we pretty much have a good grasp. Then let's move on to something more urgent and to do and important things like cutting down the water pollutions and so on. So now there was a time in like a few years back in the industry, there was a lot of the printing and dyeing houses are closed or being suspended for operation because their their water treatment. The equipment wasn't meeting the standard, so they were polluting. Yeah, so now so that costed a lot of upgrades. Some company shut down, some company merged, and so on. But it's a painful step, but it's an important step. We need to keep going. So and China in a new 5-year plan, they also have talked about more using more recycled materials, recycle more of textile waste, lower the carbon emissions, and increase the water reuse, and so on. So they're creating a big alliance of a lot of big companies, apparel brands, and also manufacturers in China. They together to join like an alliance, try to map out the carbon footprints. So I think the end goal, it's like eventually we'll have a like a carbon a database for all the carbon footprint of like different type of materials, processes, and products, and so on. Can be used, be shared within the industry, and so on. And so it's the policy is doing a lot of the things. So yeah, I think these are the main drivers: the consumers, the government, and also the big company. And there's also a lot of other, I think, factors driving it, so like media and so on. But I think these are the three main big things. Yeah.
If we step into the sustainability, you started Remakehub and with one of the another co-founders. Could you please give a little bit of introduction about Remakehub and what really impact you to make this step to start this company?
Yeah, it's Remakehub is the beginning. Start my co-founder Cici in 2018. So I joined it in about 2019, a little later, as a co-founder. I think we all share one passion is and kind of our mission is to just to make things more sustainable. And so because our background, so we focusing on recycling for on textile waste and also some plastic waste. We tried other interesting things too. We did some explorations on mycelium, leather, this bio-based material, and other things. We did part of it. It's fun. Part of it, we see it's opportunity. For now, I think we're focusing on textile recycling, and also plastic recycling, returning like plastic waste into panels that can be used for interior designs and other different industries. Yeah.
Do you also see that we can we are the fashion industry also combining the technology advantages of China with the strong ecosystem to evolve and to innovate in certain ways and to just set a new direction for the whole fashion industry?
Yeah. China is definitely, there are certain areas like manufacturing, automation, that's China pretty strong in this. They using AI to do like inspection, like photo recognition to instead of human eyes to do the inspection. We could use AI to do the inspection for the on the production line. There are things like this, and China are pretty good at. There are also something the West are good at, like new materials and so on. Example is like Europe has a long history of man-made cellulose fiber. So you can see a lot of startups in Europe are doing that type of new technology and advancements and starting trials, and then for the new with sustainability in mind, and then that can have big impact on the fashion industry. So I think everywhere has their own unique innovations or advantage in terms of like using new technology, or what kind of new technology will being developed.
Yeah.
China is
And
because it's a huge single market, so there's a lot of potential use cases that are huge, but you got to still have to find the right structure, I'll say.
yeah.
What technology you use and what kind of structure and system you build to take advantage of the huge market potential.
Yeah. And how about automation in the fashion industry, using machines to replace all of the labors? How about this trend at the moment?
It's not as fast as I think people thought. It's sometimes some brands is like, oh, our clothes are handmade. Well, yeah, most clothes are still handmade. Very, very little clothes can be done by machines for about 80% or 70% of the process. Mostly still hand sewing machines. Still that, especially for the woven side. It's it is getting better. China has because have the strong ecosystem, so we have a lot of people, engineers working on developing and trying to improve that. Big Western brands also work with their factories to try to improve the productivity, try to work together to develop some maybe new technology or explore new ways of production together. So I think it's both. It's both the brands are helping the manufacturer, as well as also the local ecosystems are doing a lot of new developments.
Yeah, and if we talk about fast fashion, it's one of the main issues also, which people really worry about if we think about sustainability. And I think one of the most famous company at the moment, especially the young people all purchase, is from Shein. Shein is also a Chinese company, and you are also garments fashion company, and you must know very well how Shein works. And that I heard from you that they're also actually doing making a lot of effort for CSR. Could you please introduce a little bit more about what you know about all kinds of activities in this area?
They are working with their factories to improve the CSR. Definitely, that is, we will see that, I think. And they're also they also do something very unique. Like I think it's even some other brands, major Western brands, are sometimes thinking is like how they could turn things around so fast in a small batch. I think. I remember one time I did a panel, and then one of the panelists, he's from a major Western brand, and then he was quite intrigued by how they were doing the supply chain, how they could do small batches and then do it so quickly and so on. And I think this is something we could maybe brands could learn, other brands could maybe do differently, and I could see some small brands I could see brands now are trying to do more small batches on the production as well. I think it really helps to lower the inventory, because inventory not just is bad for the environment, because you have left over, do you overproduce, right? you're using a lot of resources to overproduce. Not just bad for that, but it's also bad for their the financials. The more inventory you have, the more money you are stuck. You have less working capital, so it's having high inventories is not a good idea for in many sense. So working in small batches, producing small volume at a time when there's they could see the demand's rising and then produce a little more and more. I think that that is a smarter way of doing things. And I could see even other Western brands are doing things. Small mid-sized brands are doing that. So I think that way of doing things have, I think, changed some of the how could affect how other brands do productions in the future.
For the people who are not very familiar with Shein, could you please explain a little bit how they work in China with the fashion manufacturers?
Yeah, they work with a lot of manufacturers very closely. It's like if you look at very similar to Zara, is that Zara, if you look at their annual report, they talk about a lot of their manufacturers are very close by to their warehouse. That is the same case for Shein as well. You can see there's a lot of people work with the Shein factories, and with Shein that ecosystem. So by putting things very closely together, they can ship things faster. You can cut down on the shipping lead time and so on. And they work very quickly. From what I know, is they work quickly, and from designs to productions and so on. Even their payments are very quick to the manufacturers. They have a very quick payment terms to their manufacturers, so which is good for factories. Some brands, they have long lead payment terms, but Shein, they are very fast. So it's in that sense, they are quite different, I'll say.
Yeah.
And they use a lot of a very digitally in mind mindset.
Yeah.
So I think yes, Shein right now, it's not the most sustainable brand on the planet, but I think a lot of the fast fashion brands that we know they were in that kind of, they had that kind of label few years back, or 5-10 years back. And look at now, they are some of the biggest driver of sustainability in the industry. So I think that with the size they are, Shein, I think Wall Street Journal did talk about they're like over 220 billion in sales this year, or something like that. With that size, they could be a major player for a major driver of sustainability. Right now, they're not doing well on it, but that doesn't mean they won't do well in the future. I think we should give them time and so on. Especially if you look at it, their major market is in the West, in North America and in Europe. So that's the trend in North America and Europe. And for that company to survive, they need to act on sustainability. So I see is that it's a long road, but they will do it. And I think they could be, maybe a few years down the road, be one of the main driver for it.
Yeah, it's great to think, to expect that they will lead to the fashion sustainable actions and to really make an impact in the industry, because with their company size, if they really do something, they can really make a huge impact. Vincent, you are also a mentor and for many startups, fashion startups. And I'm just wondering, very curious, what are the greatest, what are the most common challenges those fashion startups are facing, and that you are supporting them?
Young startups, they could be is maybe they're sometimes too confident on their products, on their offerings. They may not look deep enough. It's like they always think, okay, I don't have any competitors, or my competitor, or it's only these two. I say, no, there's a lot of substitute products that can compete with you. I mean, it's like it's like if you winter time, right? You could buy a down jacket, or you can buy a wool coat, right? So wool coat is your competitor, right? Or you can get those ski jacket, like those 3-layer ski jackets. So you have a lot of different options out there. It's not just down jacket. You don't just compete with your down jacket brands. You compete with the brands do well on wool coat as well. So I think that's one thing. Sometimes we're too confident on our products and so on. It's I think the main thing is just we got to keep on growing, keep on learning. Like I have engineering degree, I have a business degree, so I like to look at things, to learn things from fundamentally from a engineering point of view, and also look at things at a business point of view. So I like to look at things like that. And I think sometimes young entrepreneurs think like, oh, my background was design, so okay, I can just find a co-founder that does chemistry or something to help me. I think as a founder, you got to be, if you are doing, let's just say, like if you're a startup doing a hammer, making a hammer, like books, right? They always talk about like widgets. Like let's use a hammer as a example. If I'm an entrepreneur of producing hammer, then I definitely need to know like the business side of it, right? And also the material side of it. Don't just think that you're a founder, you can just say, oh, I don't really need to know that the material for making a hammer. That's the factory's job, or that's my the chemist or metallurgist this job. As a founder, you got to know. Without knowing, you cannot see the whole picture. You cannot connect the dots. A lot of young startup founder are I think a bit like that. So you just have to be well-rounded. You're able to you have to be like a triathlon. You cannot just say I focus on one thing. You have to learn enough of all the facets that about your product or your service, that whatever you're building, to have enough knowledge to make a smart business decision. I mean, if you don't know enough, you don't even know how to hire that person, right? Yeah. So I think that's one big thing. So when I see some founder that they are really like learning about the product that they're building, even on the material side, on the chemistry level, and so on, I think that's great. It means that they're looking at things at a very big picture, not just a narrow view. Yeah. They have a very holistic view of the thing, so they can connect all the dots and make a stronger business decision, better decision.
Yeah, there's a really very very interesting insights, and because like just you said, if you are all rounded, you can more you get even better with connecting all of the dots in your business, and it will really help your business to accelerate, I think.
Yeah, it doesn't mean you have to I think you have to be like from scale 1 to 100, you have to be like 75, 80 at whatever things that are related to your to the product, to your company. So you know how to hire the right person. I mean, you don't need to be like sit down and engineer the whole thing out or be chemist and everything, but you need to know enough of it to hire, okay, I need a chemist or engineer that specifically have these kind of skill sets, because to tackle that kind of problem we're having for that product, for our product.
Yeah.
I think that's very important. Yeah. Otherwise, you don't even know what to hire, because you can hire like a material scientist out there, but material science is huge. There are people focusing on ceramics, some people focusing on metals, some focusing on plastic. So even plastic, there are some people focus on like bioplastics, some focus on petroleum, some of them focus on like the rubber type. If you don't know enough, I think you don't know how to hire the right person, or even have that conversation with that potential candidate to see if they're the right person for your company. Yeah.
Yeah, very interesting. Thank you for sharing this. Vincent, you are collaborating with a lot of Western companies, and whether you can give the Western people who are engaging with Chinese people who are doing business China or want to do business with China, whether you can give them some tips how they can start there, and how they can start a successful journey in China.
LinkedIn is always good source to find people, especially you can see what kind of narrative posts, what kind of things they like to talk about, and what kind of people they connect to, and their professional expertise and so on. I think understanding each other. I think I'll say like to ask questions. And sometimes I think some maybe local companies, people, they don't like to ask a lot of questions on their clients. I think it's good to ask questions. If you have some questions in mind, just ask them. It's never really a bad question. Sometimes ask them how the business doing, how are things affecting. If something don't make sense to you, ask them why is that. I think what is the reasoning behind their decision, and so on. I think that's important. Then you get a more understanding of how other people think, especially like where the manufacturer, the brands are the ones closer to the consumer. So sometimes I would like to ask question, okay, like why you design this style? Why is this style canceled? Or how are things affecting, or even how what's your idea on, what's your strategy on Vietnam and other different places and so on. Just ask some questions. I think the more you ask, the more you will get to know about your client and about the industry, about the trend. And also I think on the other side, the client will see, okay, this person likes to ask questions. This is like means you're listening, right? You're paying attention, and you're going through a thought process. You're thinking about it. So I think it's a good thing, yeah, to ask questions.
Yeah, it's a great tip, and to be curious, and also it shows that you are curious about this person, about his business, or about his thinking. And Vincent, how can people connect with you and follow you?
You can find me on LinkedIn all the time. Vincent, my last name is Djen. There's only one Vincent Djen on LinkedIn, so it's easy to find me. Yeah.
Okay, Vincent and Djen, Djen, so they can find you on LinkedIn. Yeah, thank you so much, Vincent, for sharing all kinds of knowledge and insights about the Chinese fashion industry, especially about the sustainability and about the development in this area. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you very much for listening. You can also watch the interview on Our Cultures and Our World podcast YouTube channel. If this podcast is valuable to you and your business, please subscribe and help me by sharing this podcast with more people. It's my mission to help people from different cultures to connect with each other, learn from each other, and inspire each other. You can also go to check out my website for more information about what I do and the kindness projects I support. I genuinely hope that this podcast and the stories my guests share will give all of us insights, ideas, and inspiration to create a more connected world together.